right?
Please enter your participant or moderator code, followed by the pound key.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Please say your name, followed by the pound key.
Chris.
Tired. I refereed the Belmont games last
You are the first participant in the conference.
night. Heavy rains, 40
23.
degrees. It was beautiful.
It was
And put
Here's he got a quick, Terry hasn't stamped him yet.
Ruth Colby has joined.
I failed to send them last night, so sorry. So it's 9 o'clock. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, well, I didn't know which one of us was,
Tried to help you out.
my mind is somewhere else.
Consider for approval minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve this agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by, gotta think of your name, Jensvold. Second by Derby.
We have answered to a lot worse.
Was trying to figure out what to call you. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, Bill. It's been a morning.
Don't worry, these things happen.
9 o'clock. Discussion with possible action regarding Worth County and Hancock County terminating the 28E agreement of social services.
So we've received the notices from both counties, right? From both Hancock and Worth.
Yes.
I guess what are you guys wanting to do moving forward?
It's going to be tough to make a go of it on our own.
Right.
That's the tough part of it.
Do we know what Hancock and Worth are planning to do? Have they discussed that?
Hancock is going to their hospital in public health,
Oh, okay, sure.
and Worth County, I think, was going to Nakeo, North Iowa area.
Community action.
Community action.
Okay,
So that's a possibility.
okay, that's an option for us.
Did you see the letters that they sent?
Yeah, somebody
Okay.
copied me in on them, so I looked at those.
Okay.
Yeah, I should've brought my laptop down.
No, that's all right. So, part of the discussion is that we can't afford to do it ourselves, the way it is, I guess.
Mhm. So I think at this point, you've just gotta
We got-
look at what options you actually have and what the cost of each of those options might be, and then we come back and make a decision as to how to move forward, I suppose. Because without knowing numbers at this point, you can't say what we're going to do moving forward, but
Yeah, now we gotta do some research. on what the
research,
options are.
right, figure out what the
We're
options
trying
are.
to do something by the first of the month.
Well, that's what I was wondering, what kind of time frame do we?
These two are pulling out the first of the month.
Oh, both of them are,
Yes, yep, June 1st.
I thought maybe Worth was gonna,
So we've got to make a
Nope,
decision
date.
soon to,
Well, I mean, in the interim, I suppose it just
Well-
continues on as,
it just continues on and just
Right.
costs us.
Just-
right, we're footing
we
the
just
entire
got-
bill.
We're the only ones paying it.
Right, yep, exactly.
we're already over.
So there won't be a lapse in service, but
No,
the cost will be,
we shouldn't.
Yeah,
Before
we're
we,
already over budget.
right, yeah, no, I understand.
we'll figure out what our options are before we do anything. So,
Mhm. So if there's anything specific you need me to look into, I can certainly do that. I just need to know what that is.
I don't know that public health in Hancock's gonna wanna take this on. We could ask them, but, we could talk to maybe them and Nikeo over the year.
Oh,
And get kind of a cost estimate and,
Cause Nikeo already, services us for other things.
okay,
So
so it makes sense.
it would
Yeah,
kinda make sense because we already have that relationship with them.
sure,
That's how Worth County looked at it was, well, they're already doing work here.
Yeah,
We're more than happy to take them on.
okay.
So our time frame is within this month is to try to
Next
figure
week,
out.
We should probably be getting some answers.
And say I would
Wow.
get on that as soon as possible, and then once you have those numbers, we can regroup and figure out what makes the most sense.
Do we need to have a special meeting separate from these meetings so that we can,
I think if we get the information this week,
Julie has joined.
present at the next meeting, I think we'll be okay. It's just, we gotta
do it?
start moving.
To get the information.
So we almost need to designate one person to be that go-between to Mikhail. And
Well, as chairman, I'm looking at you, Terry. Actually, you seem to know more about it. You seem to know
She's
more.
gonna be on the EMS one.
Yeah.
Be with you.
I'm just saying it sounds like you are more aware than I am for certain.
I had left
how
a
they-
message with AJ Stone, because I know he had talked to Mikhail, but he never called me back, so
Okay,
maybe I'll call one of the other guys and find out who the contact person is there.
yeah.
So I talked to AJ about it at our mental health meeting last week, but it got so late that both of us had other meetings we had to get to, so we had to.
That time of year.
Okay, so we just need to put it on the agenda for next
I believe so.
week.
Yeah, I think so. That's all you can really do at this point, until
Okay.
you have a list of options.
If there's something that we can't find out or figure out, we'll have to talk to you
Yeah.
and see if there's,
I wonder,
Other options.
Could you check with or somebody else check with the Hancock Public Health and see if there's any interest there?
yeah.
And we at least have two things to look at. I don't know, what other options we have besides that?
Mhm.
And is this item number 3 that you're talking about?
I guess it sort of is. a
It
little
all
bit.
blends together, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
2 and 3.
To know what to put on the agenda for next week.
So, like on number 2, were we supposed to accept the termination or
I'm
something? or-
assuming that's why that's on there. Yeah.
Okay, so we can complete that one and
Yeah.
finish
Yeah.
that discussion.
That'll simplify next week's agenda.
There we go. So do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the termination, like we have a choice.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion by Jensvold and second by Derby regarding Worth County and Hancock County terminating 2080 agreement with social services. All in favor, say aye.
It's a bittersweet one. I mean,
It's,
this has been the longest agreement in the state, really.
Yeah, we were the first to merge
Oh, really?
services in 1992.
Yeah.
Oh,
Before mental health started.
We were the first region in a sense.
Yeah.
As little as it
Going
was.
together, the
All
3
our
counties
mental
going
health went through this,
Okay.
and we're ahead of.
Bob Lincoln always claimed that his was the first, and then I would correct him on it. He didn't like that.
Yeah, he was sitting right here when you did that.
really,
Yeah, it was interesting. That's the same day that he, you in here?
I did it in front of 13 legislators in Charles City.
Yeah, he, accidentally on purpose broke one of these.
accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, I was just sitting here and all of a sudden I was sitting perfectly fine and all of a sudden I hear a crash and then this kind of a goated look. Oh, don't worry, I have 5 more.
So, number 3, we have to just table till next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think there's any action you can really take today. So.
No.
Could I, for a understanding here, social services entails what?
Our advocate, and then Sandy's former job, former position or whatever, or what we have left at the county level. And the advocate is reimbursed through mental health.
So everything's transformed over the years to where it in
Yeah.
itself is it's kind of an attrition because of all the changes.
Yeah. It's,
And now changing again. You know, it's just, things are Things are different.
When we used to control the Fund 10 ourselves, we used to pay the salaries ourselves. And now that that's completely taken out of our hands as of the end of June, it's kind of, hopefully we're not going to lose a lot of control. They say we're not, but
And this is the state.
yeah, the state, the regions have taken over Fund 10. They've eliminated Fund 10. We've had to create another
Fund 3.
Fund 3, is it, to pay the position out of, but the money will actually come from the region because it's now on sales tax dollars, mental health. So the money will come from the region back into that Fund 3 then to pay the employee, is
I
that
thought
how
it was
it
the
works?
state.
Not sure.
I thought the state was taking over Fund 10.
No,
Because Fund 10 was by property tax.
yeah, Fund 10, there will be nothing.
There will
in it.
be no
It won't
Fund 10.
Yeah, it's gonna be gone, is the way I understand it.
They're assuming all of the value in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
They're gonna drain the pot and start over with sales tax.
So the sales tax pays for the advocate that will be-
Indirectly.
that will be working with us, and you're searching for a new
It'll be
advocate.
one line item under theirs.
Right.
What he said, it'll be
Yeah.
one line item under mental health.
Yeah, see, the sales tax will come from the state to the region, and then the region will put the money in Fund 3 for us to pay the salary, because she's still a Winnebago County employee, or actually the three of us. We split everything up 3 ways for the 2 positions, which Ruth has both of them now.
Okay, so we're looking at finding the money coming from the state to pay for the new advocate or the advocate, whoever that may be.
Well, and we used to split the advocate 3 ways. Well, now all of a sudden we have the whole salary, and it used to be a part-time position, and then Sandy's position that she had at the end was basically a part-time also. We could probably contract the services for less, for certainly than what paying the whole salary. So I hate to see it happen, but it's kind of forced there.
So just out of curiosity, and thankfully I have a good legal mind sitting here next to me, can a government actually go to a private entity and say, take this process over
We do it all the
We can
time.
contract with private entities,
with private entities?
Yeah.
So if they become like,
particularly if it's more cost effective.
Almost all mental health services are contracted out to private entities.
okay,
You know, whether-
When did they take mental health away from counties? I mean, it used to be in the counties.
They're just transitioning now.
yeah.
Just, and when did that start? I mean, was it a year ago, 2 years ago?
Past a year ago.
Yeah,
Last year.
it's probably pushing 2 years, right around that,
Has it?
maybe.
Been 2 years since the legislation.
Well, since they started talking about what they were
Yeah,
gonna do.
but I
They
think it
didn't
actually
actually pass
passed
it
last
until, yeah,
Last year's session,
Last year's session, okay.
but it takes a year to transition.
but it's kind of been taken away from the counties before that because the regions, I mean, we still had our Fund 10, but the region, as we found out the hard way, the regions own your Fund 10, so.
Yes,
it's,
it is.
so this new Fund 3 is a means for the counties to regain some kind of control.
Well, no, it's just they're gonna reimburse us for whatever the 2 positions cost. So, right now, I don't know what Bruce's salary is, probably, it was like 55 plus the 15 we added onto it. Once you took over Sandy's duties, I think, so we're looking at 70,000, and we'll probably be able to contract the services for much less. I mean, when 3 counties were splitting it up, it wasn't so bad, but now that's not gonna be anymore.
So it's a little over 23,000 per county this year.
Yeah.
For that salary, and then
Mhm.
we'll see what comes in from other.
So when the WHW is no longer and we may go with the NACO or the public health, does that $15,000 come off of Ruth's salary then? Because she will no longer be doing that portion?
she's still gonna have both positions, just one county paying for it. I mean, she'd still be doing both positions for us. And we'll have to figure out what we can contract services for and see what we're gonna.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
It's all gonna come down to, what the contract, what you can contract for. Whether that's going to be for both positions, one position, it's just gonna depend what
I know,
it comes down to.
I think Cassu's, was the advocate or the Sandy? What's Sandy's position again? I can't-
Social service.
Just so,
It's
just so,
like
no.
general
General relief.
director,
General relief.
I can never remember,
There's just too many terms.
yeah.
But, I know Cassu's is retiring, I think, but, so I don't know what we can do. But, and then going forward, if we contract the services for less, then the Fund 3 through the region will only be reimbursed. Right now, we're being reimbursed for the 75,000 plus the benefits each month and, for the year. And they'll only reimburse us for whatever, say we cut it down to where it's only costing us 30,000 to contract the services out, then the region will reimburse us for that amount.
Could there realistically be a bidding process involved in this? For example, I mean, Hancock County comes up with their, HCHS comes up with theirs, NICO comes up with theirs, and the county looks at either one of these?
We'll have to look at several different choices that are possibly available. I guess we'll have to do a little research on that to figure. We know the one, and whether, Hancock with their hospital would want to take us over to or not, or whether they just want to stick with their own. That's how complicated we want to make it, I guess.
And would Mercy be involved in any of this?
I don't think they provide any services like that.
Not like this.
Not that I'm aware of, but,
No.
I mean, could reach out, I suppose.
Yeah, we can certainly make a call.
More options you have, yeah.
Well, one of the,
I don't know what that
I don't know what that one's about
Isn't
either.
that the Payee program that, is that the,
is that for
is that the
healthcare
advocate?
or no?
This,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is Ruth.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, Ruth.
I was the, hi. I was the one that asked to have the next two things put on the agenda. It was based on the WHW meeting that had happened on April 4th, and it was determined at that time that that group could vote on these particular things, but it needed to come back to each individual board to be voted on there. I've already met with the Hancock board and the Worth board, and they've approved both of these things, and so I'd like to present them to you as well.
Okay.
What are you presenting then?
Sure. So what I'm presenting is the Winnebago County Payee program. We made 3 changes to it at the WHW meeting. One was that we would accept the new Social Security rate of $48 per month, up from $45 per month, and that would be effective retroactive to January 1st, when that change was made by Social Security. The second change was that we would increase the general relief income guidelines from 100% of the federal poverty level to 115% of the federal poverty level. That enabled us to account for some inflation and not exclude people. And the final thing was that we would, if someone received SSDI, it usually was greater than SSI. SSDI meant that someone had a work history, therefore they received disability benefits and received more money. But what was happening was that was being used against them because they had to have participation fees taken out of that money for their services, say at something like a Duncan Heights, and yet that money was being used against them a second time, saying that they didn't qualify to have the Payee program pay for them. What we discussed at the WHW meeting on April 4th was that we would exclude those participation fees and use their SSDI money minus participation fees, and then apply the 115% threshold test to see whether they qualified for those benefits. And the other 2 counties went ahead and approved what we essentially had approved on April 4th.
Thanks for the reminder, Ruth. Now that you said all of that, I do remember all of it. So,
Okay.
is there any discussion or, I mean, we already did it, so is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. Did you have any questions on it?
No, I was
Okay,
just
I'll
gonna
make a motion to approve the changes to the Payee program.
I'll second it.
A motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold. We have to approve Winnebago County Payee program. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. And then we have
Do you
number,
the document for that?
I just have this piece of paper that, the minutes from April 4th.
Okay.
There's nothing to sign.
I had sent another copy of the program, I think, to Carla, and basically we're just looking to have that stamped by the board so that it looks like the official version.
okay, we can do that then.
Okay,
All right.
We'll find that, we'll get that,
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, and then number 5, discussion.
And it's,
Oh, go ahead, Ruth.
sure. Again, this was something where that program was left in place as is, and nothing was changed. The only thing was that we were going to we officially voted that day to keep it as is, with the idea that it would go back to each individual board, be voted on, and again, date stamped that it was the official version.
Yep. Good to have that paper trail. That's good. So discussion with possible action regarding WHW County Social Services Relief Guidelines.
I'll make a motion to approve the county social service rate guidelines, 100% to 115.
I'll second
Double poverty level, I guess.
Motion by Jen.
That's actually out of the Payee program. That is not the Winnebago guidelines that we're talking about.
Okay, so
Okay, so what's this next one then, Ruth? Well, we have
So it's the Winnebago WHW County Social Service Relief Guidelines, which are in place less than a month now, but it's basically to approve as written with a date stamp.
And have we seen those relief guidelines?
Those were discussed and voted on at the WHW meeting.
Okay. I'll have to go back and look at that. Can you give it to us in a nutshell, Ruth, again, just to remind us again?
Sure. Sure. Basically, it's the guidelines that I'm using to, as I have received application for assistance. And so it's giving the guidelines for rent and utilities. It's given the guidelines for the level of need that they have to show. And it's what's been in place for a period of time. We're just saying that we were going to essentially vote to not change it and to date stamp it so that this is the official version, because there were several versions in the file when I started.
okay, now I remember it.
Yes. Yep. Thanks for that. And sometimes it takes it takes that to jog our memories.
This is my third board meeting in a row, so it's pretty much down to a nutshell.
Thanks for walking us through this. So do we?
But probably we have a motion on the floor, but
We have to
need
get-
rescind that.
Yeah, I'll rescind it.
And I'll rescind my second. So now you can move on with your motion.
All right. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the WHM County Social Services Relief Guidelines as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold, seconded by Derby to regarding the WHW Social Services Relief Guidelines. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Was there anything else, Ruth?
The only thing that I would mention is that when I was at the Hancock board meeting, they put on, that was last week, so they put it on their agenda for this week because the 28E agreement for social services was going away. They reappointed me as their mental health advocate. At that time, Russell Wood from the CICS region was there and stated that he had been in touch with Melissa Lair from the CCNIA region, and they determined that everything with the mental health advocate appeared that it would stay as is, with the idea that Melissa is billed by Winnebago County, and then a portion of that is sent to the CICS region, and that Russell said that at this point they didn't see any reason that that would change. So I just wanted to have you guys aware that that's what was said at that meeting.
Okay,
That's good.
yeah, we'll take that into consideration.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other discussion?
Nope, that is it.
All right, thanks, Ruth.
Thank you.
And Myrtle with NICOG will be late, should be about 9:50.
And that's on the RFP.
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll jump down to Scott, or was there something else that you were here for?
I don't think so. I'm just looking. I don't see anything else. Unless there's something you want me to stick around for. I've got court at 10, but say that again.
Parking lot signs.
I mean, I can be here for it if you want me to, but
I did have one thing that really probably should be an open
Has
meeting,
left.
and I need to talk to you about it. We have some more talk about nuisance
properties.
properties
Okay.
that are in the country, so if we can maybe talk about doing a friendly letter.
You have to have the proper process to do it.
Yes,
The cities are going through that right now.
yeah, but
I
now,
assume we have a county ordinance on that.
I think that's the case. We dug it out.
Okay.
I mean, dug it out. It's where it should be, but.
you located.
It's not hiding
Pulled it
anywhere.
out to read it to see if it existed, and it's in there.
Okay,
Pretty sure.
If someone wants to send me the information about which properties you're talking about, then I can look at the ordinance. And I did a few of those in private practice on behalf of
Okay.
cities, and I imagine it's basically the same
There's-
procedure, so.
there is 3 now, so
Okay.
I'll get you those.
Yeah, even if you just want to stop up after the meeting, if I'm in court, you can give the information to Ally if that's okay too.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have a slow-moving vehicle in front of you this morning?
This morning, probably, was it you?
No.
Oh.
Rebecca, she called
Oh,
me, and asked me
was
what kind
it?
of a car you had.
Yeah,
After she
was-
got here, I'm sure.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they were,
I don't,
you guys were by Christensen Farms when she called.
oh, yeah, that would make sense. Makes sense. All right, have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Number 7, Scott.
So we're tabling the 9:30 to 9:50 or so, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So a big thing on my agenda today is I sent you this email, but it was just a few minutes ago, and so I wanted to walk through it with you. We talked about gravel a few times, and it's kind of come to a point where we need to have some discussions together about it to see what you guys think. If it's all right, I'll just kind of read through it here. So Todd and Riley Lewis are the owners of what we called the Aucus Pit, which is the piece of property here out west of town with the gravel pile that we've been using for the last few years. When they bought it, it gave me the impression, and I had kind of a similar impression from Mark before he retired, that we could both get a better deal out of that. Lewis has canceled their contract with Jan, who had an agreement that came with the property, and have been trying to find a new company to crush and come up with a new deal with us. So it really hasn't gone very far until recently. And I've basically, when we sat down, I said, here's kind of how I figure it. Here's royalties, which are the landowner's price, crushing, which is the cost to pull it up and strip the dirt and crush the gravel and all that. And those two numbers together are the price that the county pays. the initial offers, I kind of gave him a chicken scratch calculation of $4.50 a ton. He did the same for me at about $7.50. And since then, he has given us a written offer, $6.50 a ton or so, depending on some circumstances. And I have an offer that I told him verbally, and he didn't really want to receive it, but of $5.09 a ton. So at this point, we are $1.41 apart or so, and that's kind of a long ways. So I think I'd like to get your opinions on where we go from here. So a couple things I've outlined here is how do we decide what to pay? There's a couple ways to look at it. We did some research into what other counties are paying to get crushing done alone. Counties like Hancock and Cassuth own some of their own pits, and so the total cost is just the crushing cost, or, you know, stripping and crushing, all the contractors' costs, so they can bid out those projects. Hancock County has yawn crushing for $3.50 right now, and Cassuth County had a bid for $2.34 a ton from Reddings for this year's gravel. Also, Lewis's have told us that $3.50 is what Falk will crush for at their pit, so we kind of know that number. Royalties are a lot more difficult to track down because most of them are private deals that aren't necessarily, you know, publicly available. So the two examples I have, I talked to Fayette County, the engineer over there, and they have limestone pits that they pay 55 cents a ton for royalties, and that's limestone, so it's different. And then I talked to the manager at BMC, and they have a pit they don't own across the road, a sand pit, and he said they pay 90 cents or $1 a ton. He was not quite sure on the exact number. So I think royalties in this day and age are somewhere between 55 cents and $1. Finding more examples of that would be helpful, especially for his case that the county should pay more. Okay, so that's how I came up with the first offer of $4.50. $1 in royalties, $3.50 a crushing. Another way to look at it is in the prior agreement, we understand Lewis's were making 55 cents a ton for royalties and 30 cents a ton for lease, making 85 cents a ton, and basically total payment for the rock and gravel in the pile. The county was paying $6.20, so the majority of that money was the $5.35 going to yawn. $5.35 now becomes $3.50. That's a savings of $1.85. If you split that in half, 93 cents. So my thought was half of that would go to Lewis's and half of that would go to the county, and we could kind of split the difference on the price. That would make $1.78 in royalties for Lewis's and $5.26 a ton for the county. So hence my second offer, $5.09, a little bit below that. The case from Lewis's has been that the county paid $6.20, and with inflation, the price only goes up. With most things, I believe that to be the case. Where it doesn't resonate with me is the crushing price is actually going down. So I feel like we should split the savings. In terms of other options to sort of leverage the price, we have a few different things that we could do. We've been offered, we bought $6 a ton crushed concrete. We've been offered $5.75 a ton crushed concrete if we buy in enough quantity. We've identified a few properties to drill and search for gravel. That includes Sunnyside, which is a property we own and has been mined before. I told Bill Jan at Jan's that we're looking for $5 material, basically, and he thinks that he can do that, but he doesn't have that information yet, and he's going to do some investigating. I found a property I think is promising based on some of my own reasons, and I spoke with the property owner, and she was not looking to do this, but seemed interested and gave me permission to do some cores on her property to see what we could find out there. And I think if we found gravel, I think we could approach her with an agreement about royalties or whatever, but have the county kind of in control of it so that we could also bid out the crushing process and have a little bit more handle on the cost. That takes some money to do the cores. If we use the disinterested party, I think it might be worth it. Obviously, we'll know a lot more after we would receive a report about it.
Is the disinterested one in Winnebago County?
It would be a testing company from Mason City, Chosen Valley.
No, the disinterested party, the property, is that Winnebago County or somewhere
It's
else?
in Winnebago County, at least the one I'm looking at. Jan said there's vary between our county and the very northern part of Hancock County. And I told him that I definitely don't want to be adversarial with their county. So, and he said that that's not the case. So we'd be sensitive to that, just to make sure we're not stepping on their toes or anything. And the last thing is Yulin Brothers has a gravel source just north of the Minnesota border, about 4 miles, and they told me they'd sell me about any quantity on demand for $8, which is much higher price per ton, but it's in a location that it costs a lot of money to haul from our other sources. And so the price of gravel goes up every mile you haul. So at a point there's a calculation you could do where it's more economical to haul $8 gravel versus $6.50 gravel, for instance. And at $6.50, I think we could more economically haul to Norway and Logan Township from that $8 source. Just
So
an
up there-
example.
Up there with you, and would they load it or we load it?
It depends if they have a loader there. He said if they have a loader there, they'll load it. If not, we got to bring one. And that's really the end of my spiel. There's a lot of numbers to throw at you. So I guess at this point, I'll take your thoughts. The main reason I think this is so important is because it's one of our biggest budget items, and so we got a chance to really look hard at it.
So when you have a contract, is that a one-time contract, or is it a 3-year contract, or?
For gravel crushing,
Yeah,
well, in the past, we've set it up as, I'll call it a 4-year contract, but basically they put up a pile and we use it over 4 years and we pay up front. Well, basically, once the crushing is complete, we pay up front. That's pretty tough for our budget to come up with $620,000, and so I had some interest in spreading that out into annual payments or, a smaller pile.
And that's why Lewis's came up with these options.
They said that with a new contractor, and they have experience in this pit, that maybe a smaller contract would be beneficial for all parties. So I think we would steer it more toward a 50,000 ton pile, which, depending on price, we have in the budget for this fiscal year, this coming fiscal year, and could pay basically all at once the crushing's done. That's kind of, lower risk for everybody if you just start a little bit smaller, not knowing what kind of material they'll find, what kind of overburden they'll find.
Is there value in the overburden?
I think I included that in here, yeah. His offer, part of it anyway, includes that the overburden, the clay piles out there that they stripped off the top of the gravel, would be given, the county would have free access to that.
so that's the free filled dirt that you're
Yep.
talking about.
Yep.
So what's that worth? How
Uh,
much do we actually use of it?
We would use, it really depends on where in the county we're working, because it's one of those things too, that it's pretty cheap where it sits, but once you haul it, the cost really goes way up. So we usually try and find sources close to our projects to minimize the haul. Where that is, it could well serve a 10-mile radius probably, but being on the southern border, it is limited, and we also have been working with Helms for a number of years on a property they own to take hills off their property, and we pay $1,000 an acre in rent, and that's all. We would also pay for, the stripping and the actual work being done, whereas this is in a pile, and you could pretty much haul an excavator out there and load it. So there's a value, but it's kind of a calculation for each project, which is the best source, depending on the haul and the amount of work needed to get the dirt out. We paid, I think, something like $18 or $19 a truckload from Kuchenbecker a couple of years ago for a project up at my rake. So, not huge amounts.
And that was a pile sitting there, we loaded.
Right, we loaded it out of a pile. That's my understanding anyway.
From around his pond there.
Yeah, yep. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I didn't see him do it, but.
He's
So,
got all kinds of, made himself a pretty good sized farm.
yeah, so we hauled a bunch to a bridge and we paid him $500 or something, It wasn't huge. But we'd rather take it out of a pile than strip a hill first.
Yeah,
If it's,
it's already there.
right, if
Work's
it's
done.
close enough to the project.
So I'm pretty interested in the crushed concrete. I always have been, and I'm very interested in this other property that you identified. I think it would be worth $4,500 to explore that. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't want to oversell it.
No, I know, but I mean it's.
Yeah.
You never know.
I've been thinking about that a lot, and to have the county in control of a property seems like would be beneficial because the contractors then have to bid for the job each time you crush, and kind of takes some of the negotiating out, almost all of it. You're just negotiating with the property owner at that point. Finding gravel is a very imprecise science. That's why you see little potholes dug all over the county with a little soil bank there, and then you realize that's not the spot, or every gravel pit here, they've got to the edge and either decided we don't own that property, or we're out of good gravel and we just need to stop. And so that's kind of, we can look at soils maps and well maps and different things like that to try and clue us in. But I don't have a lot of experience with that, so we're learning as we go. But I think $4,500 in the life of the county to know if this property is valid, worthwhile to look in or not, is maybe a good investment.
Previously, there was some pressure to get something done because Lewis's would have been able to get going this spring on there. But now that's passed and it wouldn't be till fall they would do anything, so we've got a little time to, I would think we've got a little time to look at this.
Yeah, and we also have about a year's supply out there if we use the same amount we have in previous years. So my plan was to crush this fall, but if we crushed in the spring, that really wouldn't change anything. And if it needed to be a year from this fall, that could work out too. We'd be, getting down where we might be getting kind of nervous about not having material sitting there, but.
Well, thanks for the info.
Like I said, I haven't sent this written offer to Lewis's. He just didn't want it, but I think I would like to send it in the mail if that's all right with you guys. Just to kind of,
The 509.
yeah,
Yeah.
unless you want to see a different number there.
No, I think you've done your homework. So
I wish we knew.
You don't indicate anything on that offer, so that does not include any overburden.
You know, I can't think that that's gonna be the part that makes or breaks the deal. I mean, there is some value to it, and if we were offered it, we would probably take it, but I don't, price per ton on the gravel, I don't know if that really changes much.
Yeah, I don't think that really,
We have Sunnyside pits just a couple miles down, and we got fill out there too to get rid of.
any other discussion, guys?
If nothing else, I'll send the letter and keep doing some investigating and keep you posted on any updates we get.
Good. All right.
What did you say was the proposed, royalties that would be on the one that you're gonna explore?
That, we have not gotten near that far.
You were just looking at
Me-
comparables.
Yeah, I was merely seeing if the property owner is interested, and at least it seems like they are. She made the comment that, you know, it's a rent-producing farm, and that's an income source, and so we would certainly want to match that in what we rent the property for and pay royalties that both parties think is fair. Who knows what that number is?
I feel like you can send the offer and see what happens there. And it's not like eminent. We have enough product for now, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have every reason to try and work out a deal with the Lewises, and so I think we should work hard to try and get to a price that both parties feel good about, because if we don't, then either party's gonna be looking for different markets or sources,
Sure.
and if we can come up with a price that's fair, you know, maybe then we don't have to look so hard elsewhere.
Right. And just so people understand and know why this is a big deal, what percentage of your budget is gravel?
I think I told you the number. Is it 450,000 in limestone, and we got like 250,000 in diesel, and you can put most of that on hauling rock, not most of it, a good portion of it. And gravel has been about 600,000 every 4 years, so about 150,000. So what are we talking about? 600 and 700,000, something like that, a year.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
And your
So.
total budget is 2-3 million?
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 million,
3 or 4.
probably.
Yeah, kind of projects.
Yeah, depending on project.
Yeah, there's some pass-through monies and stuff like that, but I think our road use tax is 2.2 million or something, and our property tax is like 1.2, so over 3
Well,
million.
and that was just to kind of clarify for people so they
Yeah,
understand
why it's
the
such a big deal.
importance of it. All right, well, it is now, is there anything else, Scott?
That's all I had.
Then we're gonna go to our 9.
Do we want to quick do the
Do we-
number 8 and then he'd be done?
Oh, sure. Yep, let's do it. Number 8, consider for approval resolution to accept bid from Heartland Asphalt in the amount of $1,678,204.64 for project number. We all know that this one is the one that's north of Lake Mills.
What's the timing on this?
Late start date, I don't have it just offhand.
Would it be this year's budget, next year's budget?
It would, this project is all farm to market account. So that kind of is, it's less important which budget is for our local budget. I imagine the project will be later in the fall, somewhere September range.
Do we have a match on this?
Nope, this is entirely funded farm to market account.
Is this, is that gonna be changed? Seems like from my transportation policy, we talked about some changes coming forward in the, swap program.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some.
Yeah, the biggest change for our county, I think, when Biden passed his bipartisan infrastructure law, or some people are calling it the infrastructure, IIJA, whatever it is, IJA. There's a couple different names out there, but more funding is going to the states for transportation. And so the state has less money to swap with the counties. So that means the counties will be using more federal aid instead of swap money now. And that's a disappointment to counties because we fought hard and got legislation passed to be able to use state money and speed up our projects dramatically. And now we're basically taking a step back in time to the federal aid. That's only for Highway Bridge Program funding and STBG transportation funding. So if the project is entirely FM funded, farm to market funded, then it's unaffected. But that funding does make its way into quite a few of our projects in the 5-year plan. I think 1 paving project and 2 bridges. So a longer lead time and a little bit more project development cost and effort involved. But this one is unaffected. The only, I'll say, local match is the city's portion of the project. They will pay from their local budget. The project did come in over bid quite a ways. It's like, the estimate was about 1.2 million and the contract is for just short of 1.7. I'll acknowledge that my estimate was quite a ways off. Some of it was a product of the timing and the way things have been so volatile. And I think the other part is 5 miles maybe just isn't big enough to get more than 1 bidder. So we only have 1 bidder on the project. And whenever you only have 1 bidder, you worry if you could have got better prices by scaling up the project.
Is there, in the future, any scale up near this project?
Not in the near future, not in that neighborhood, I should say. I mean,
Is it,
the next paving up in that part of the county would be, further than 5 years out.
Rice Lake.
Yeah, that's pretty small scale too, and I wouldn't expect to get more than 1 bidder on that either.
would it be better to wait on this project until either things change, if we have a regime change where the price of things come back down, or, is it, because if we're gonna end up paying almost 500,000 extra over something.
We are,
Well, I guess,
as a whole.
as long as it's not our money, why do we care, right?
It's our allocation anyway.
Yeah.
It does go against that.
Yeah, so, in theory, we could have done something more with that 500,000.
Yeah, if you wanted to reject all bids, you could do so. I think that to see if there's better prices out there down the road, you'd probably be pushing the project at least a year, if not a couple. If you've been on that road, we've been treating it like it's gonna be repaired this year, haven't done any, patching or anything like that, so it's in pretty tough shape. Very passable. It's got pretty poor ride, and it's got some spots where the edges are breaking off and things that are kind of hard to fix economically. So I don't think we have much to gain, and because when we compare them to other contract prices from the same bid letting, we're close. our per square yard of new pavement's higher. But we're not off by 50%. Part of that is just because of the estimate that I did was in, I think, December. And oil prices for asphalt have just gone up that much.
It could be that if we decide to be energy self-efficient again, or self, what's the fancy word for that? Something like that. The price of oil could end up dropping back down to $30 a barrel from 130, I think, where it is last time I paid attention. And we could possibly get it done that much cheaper just a few years into the future. 3 years.
Yeah. It's entirely possible. The price of asphalt doesn't perfectly mirror oil, but it certainly is the same raw product.
It's a large chunk of it.
It definitely is. Yeah.
That's what they say when it goes up.
Yeah. I mean, I remembered 10 years ago when asphalt and concrete started to kind of balance out as oil prices went way up and concrete prices stayed pretty similar, and then they kind of corrected and went back the other way.
How about concrete? I suppose that's going up dramatically too.
They say it has, and we keep getting surcharge notices. I have a hard time believing it'd be as much. The other thing is we asked for some small maintenance patching bids, and the plants really won't even give prices other than will call, and that's pretty frustrating.
I mean, their costs are gonna go up because they're got a little more fuel costs when
Yeah,
it comes to
that
producing
affects
it, but not
everything.
near to the extent that it would be for the amount of oil that's used in asphalt, so.
I think that's right.
I would assume that the cement would be lagging behind on the increase.
Yeah, I would think so too. The closest thing, I could do an analysis, but the closest thing we'd have is Worth County's concrete overlay they did on 105. We widened the shoulders and did some more things that we likely wouldn't do, but it's pretty current pricing. Well, I mean, you know, a year old already almost.
What'd they pay per mile for that? Do you know?
It seems to me like it was about $500,000 a mile. Our project is about $350, I think. And when it was estimated at $250, it seemed like that's a long ways difference, and you got to get a pretty long lifespan out of concrete in order to make that economical. When you get $350 versus $500, it seems a lot closer, but probably not $500 anymore. Probably higher than that. It's tough to keep up with the way prices are changing
It
right
is.
now.
How's your area? What do you think?
I would think the same
Is
if
it-
it was in my areas.
What? Pardon?
If this all paving was all in my district.
Yes, and then you would.
I would think the same, that maybe possibly we should wait and see if the prices are gonna drop in the future.
Is it, how about how safe is it? The way it is right now?
And what are you gonna put into it if you know you're gonna have to wait a couple of years? You're gonna cost there, right?
Yeah, how safe is it? Well, the one part that is a challenge to keep safe is the edges breaking off, you know, because then you got drop-offs on the road that kind of shake you. It's also kind of like a pothole, and when you patch it, it falls apart because it doesn't have anything keeping it together. At least when you use pothole patch, you can patch them with a asphalt crew, Heartland, or somebody that we typically use, and pick all those little spots and try and get all the ones that you think are going to break off in the next 2 years. What would we spend up there?
I bet it wouldn't be a half a
And
million.
that
No,
would-
it'd
that
probably
would
be, I
out of
don't
our
know,
pocket.
50,000?
That'd be out of our pocket, right?
Well, out of our local budget, yeah.
It wouldn't be far.
So,
But it would be 10%.
so if we don't use the farm to market, if we don't use this, does it go away?
No, well, we're in it, there's a queue there, everybody shares the money over the years.
Can't remember just the rules, but you can accumulate so many years worth of your allocation. I think it's like 3 or 5. And then you also can borrow down into it for a similar amount of time. And if you don't use it fast enough and you get too much balance, then they start giving it away to other counties.
So is that a reason to just approve the 1.6 and just go for it?
We're,
Are we pretty balanced right now?
I think we're somewhere around 0 right now. So we would have probably a couple years of room to accumulate and hold it, I guess.
My idea is that if it doesn't come down in the next few years, things are gonna get so bad, we won't be able to afford to drive on it anyways.
Yeah, that's a troubling thing to think about.
Thanks, Bill, for all of your
Yeah,
All the negative waves,
sunshine that you bring to our board.
Moriarty,
I don't know. Have any of you guys, done a big project and a couple years down the road, you're like, man, it would be a lot cheaper if I did it now? I don't know. That doesn't seem very common.
we're not in very common times right now.
I know. That's so hard to predict.
I guess I hate to see you throw $50,000 to $150,000 at it to hold it over too.
Yeah. And, you know,
Yeah, but if you could save 450 doing it, or 400, you know,
yeah, I wonder, you know, if the market does correct, how much will it go backwards? You know, in the meantime, you will have had, 5 years worth of whatever inflation or normal price increases.
your labor costs or whatever would probably continue to go up a few percent a year, but, not near as much as the other could come down.
How many miles is this again?
A little bit over 5, including the city's part. Trying to think, the next repaving similar to this would be, I think, 2025. We have 842 planned with federal aid. So for grouping projects, we got to go a little bit into the future, and at that point, that one will be, maybe ready or maybe pushed out into the future further, I'd say, based on the condition today. So, looking at projects to group it with, not quite sure. I'd have to look a little harder at that.
The paving up by the lake, that's already, we've already okayed that contract, that has not been bid yet.
We have work around rake, not until,
Yeah, no, that's a few years in the future, that's
Yeah.
right.
not until 2026.
Yeah, that's right. So if we combine those two projects, possibly we either get more bids or better bids. If we waited a few years,
Certainly, those were to go with all of our 20 from Buffalo to the state line too. And that's a year after we had A42 planned, 2025, 8.5 miles from Forest City going to the feed mill. And those being in separate years, maybe when it comes down to it, we group all those together too.
because if you can get them they only gotta set up one workstation for 3 different projects. Possibly, like you say, possibly do it quite a little cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, the more miles we can stack up in one contract, the better price we get. That's undoubted. Last time we did 16 miles and we had 2 bidders.
And they're all farm to market.
all of our paved roads are farm to market except for a couple of miles, little stubs into cities and things. So yeah, farm to market funding can be used on about anything paved, and even bridges on certain gravel roads that are farm to market too.
But not Rice Lake,
I think it's farm to market up to the clubhouse.
is it?
Yeah, so that also would be eligible. But why it is, I'm not sure. I don't think it would be approved today.
Well, I guess there is a little field right there, yeah.
It's a lot of farm to market for the side
Yeah.
of the field.
Right.
So on the allocation chart here, you know, they indicate, should have received through 2025, should have received through 2025 with stimulus, and actually received through 2025. This number would be in that number, right?
No, that's the federal aid or swap money.
Oh, that's the swap.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one would this be then? Let's see, I have another summary sheet. Let's see.
So when we go to those meetings at NIACOG, farm to market money really isn't discussed at that kind of,
Is it?
in that setting. Farm to market's a pretty straightforward funding source we receive directly from the state with pretty limited oversight and requirements. Swap and federal aid have always been more cumbersome. Anyway.
All right.
I don't know what to do. It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, if the decision hinges on what's the future look like, we're all guessing a little.
My crystal ball's a little cloudy,
Yeah.
you can say that. I guess, but if you wanna make a side bet, I'll bet the price is gonna come down in the future.
Yeah. I don't doubt that it would come down. I think there's kind of a limit on where that reaches normal again. Fuel and oil are like, such drivers in this kind of project.
What percentage is driven by labor too?
Yeah, and you certainly wouldn't expect labor to ever go down. So if I haven't said it,
Well,
my
if we start
record
having negative inflation, then
happened in small scale before. If I haven't said it, I do recommend we approve it today. That's my best opinion. I understand what you guys are saying.
and I think we'll be better served in the future, especially if we combine a couple projects. If we can prolong this road to where it's not danger. I drove on it not that long ago, and I don't remember it being that bad.
Yeah, I mean, if we did something like did some patching and put a seal coat on it or something, maybe we could buy 4, 5, 6 years. Maybe. Again, it's got some issues that are so hard to fix, right? The edge is breaking off. I mean, we can always shove rock up to the edge and patch them the best we can. And we can
3.5 years to the rake project up in that area, and then the A42 was, what year did you have that one?
That one's in 25, the Rake and Buffalo Center was 26. Those are fiscal years,
Yeah.
so that's when they bid.
So can the road survive without a lot of maintenance, 2.5, 3 years to conclude those two projects?
We need to figure out what we could save by doing that, though. I mean, what's the big number if we do wait and combine? I mean, I know it's the crystal ball thing, but I mean, just feasibly, if you combine three projects, what are we gonna be able to save?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a question that you can ask of some people that will be likely bidders? including the guy that did this, as far as if he had if you tripled the size of the, how much would it go down per mile?
Cause right now we're at $305,000 a mile, right? Or something like that.
I was thinking it was more like 350, but I don't have that,
Okay,
it's like 5.3 miles or something, so if you do the math, you gotta. What was the contract price, 1,670 or something?
678. And you said 5.3 miles?
Yeah, 316 or so.
Yeah. 317.
Yeah, the way to know if more economy of scale helps you is comparing our bid prices to the average from the letting. And that's why I said like oil prices, I think, are competitive, because that's something you just buy. But the install price per square yard is $8-10 higher than what I think the average is for everybody else around the state doing bigger projects. So that's where I think the labor and the hauling and all that kind of are more efficient on a bigger scale. And so I think that's where the money is saved. And what is there, maybe 150,000 or 200 in those bid items, actual paving per square yard, that is higher than I expected. How much can you save? Probably not the whole thing. If you waited a couple of years, maybe you could get it down 100 or even 200,000 with a bigger project and favorable price decreases on goods.
I just worry about what the impact on our current budget would be by not doing it, and we have to invest in, out of pocket.
Sure.
To repair.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And you had kind of admitted that 1.2 million estimate was off. I mean, you were off on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was my best guess
Yeah.
6 months ago,
Yeah.
based on, the current pricing then, and trying to guess how our size of project relates to the averages.
Yeah.
It's always a difficult, I'm basically a bidder trying to figure out what it's gonna cost without any knowledge of the equipment or resources any of the contractors have, so.
Chris, did you want to say something?
Well, I was just wondering if you wanted him to get some other numbers together. Could we go on to the 9:31? She's
Yeah, I
been
think
sitting
we're
here
at
for
that
half an
stalemate
hour.
right now. If you
And maybe he could come back with something else
You'd
and we
probably
could talk
have
about
some
it
good,
later.
you'd probably have great input into this conversation, actually.
Well, in my experience, things always get more expensive. I mean,
'Cause you've
yes,
seen a lot of
maybe
big numbers.
One component goes down, but then even in farming, when the prices went way up, we got great money on our corn. Then inputs skyrocketed, and inputs did a little correction, but not nearly what.
Well, the input,
with
that
the
price coming down always
price
lags, but,
Yeah.
if we get somebody in there that's, get rid of, including a bunch of rhinos, if we get people in there that are honest about this, where supply and demand can really be the driving factor. Right now, even in agriculture, I would say 60 or 70% of it's politics and the rest is supply and demand.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's more people in the world every day to eat them finite amount of food. And you tell me there's not an increase in demand? So it's-
And the other thing is, you're exactly right, there's no crystal ball. There's no, this is the right answer, unfortunately, solutions and everything, but.
Yeah.
It's kind of like hedging fuel prices.
Yeah.
Can't always.
Because with,
Well,
supplies skyrocketing, labor skyrocketing.
after November of 2020, I wished I'd had $10,000 to invest, or even more to invest in oil futures, because I knew this was coming. And so that was easily predictable, because I even thought of it.
I just am concerned about the safety. That's a busy farm to market road, and safety is, in my opinion, part of the reason I'm sitting right here.
I don't remember anything being overly unsafe about the road when I drove on it, though. I don't remember thinking, oh my God.
No,
Yeah, there's some cracks, yeah.
Yeah, I don't wanna overstate that it's, we gotta spend the money now, or otherwise we're putting everybody in danger. I
no.
don't think that's the case. It's just that road specifically has some hard problems to fix with pothole patch and our own guys.
Yep.
So
So do we need to table this and get a little bit more
you
information?
wanna see more today? You want me to run and get you anything specific?
Well, maybe to give you some time, maybe we should just put it on for next week.
Yeah, we can put it on next week.
And then you can get us some numbers, you contact a few of these guys that would bid these projects, and if it was, if you combined all three projects, how much better a bid you would get or not.
If we're only gonna save a couple $100,000, then it's not gonna be worth it to wait out. But if it's something that somebody would give us,
Sure. Okay,
I don't care who you are, a couple $100,000.
Do you wanna come back?
Well,
I mean, do you
it
have more
is, but it's,
time?
I guess I'd like to know what it's gonna take to make it a safe road in the budget.
yeah,
For the next 3 years.
Yeah.
that's probably something, in reality, we evaluate every spring and say, kind of, what do we have to do to buy us another year or two, and hope it sticks. It's pretty tricky. I mean, every year we drive the roads in the fall and the spring and kind of come up with a list of where we got to patch, and it changes so fast. Some years it's like, it looks like just like last year, hasn't changed at all, which is the case for the last 2 years, but the year before, we had things just exploding. I mean, and all of a sudden we had a couple $100,000 to spend on patching.
Are you okay with just finding more information so we can talk about it next week?
Sure. The one thing I will note is that the bid tab and all that stuff is to remain confidential until there's a contract or reject all bids vote. So keep that to yourself, and also we're not allowed to talk to the contractor between the bid and the contract.
okay.
So you're limited what you
A
can.
little bit limited. We can maybe call the contractor from our last job and ask why they didn't bid it. Get a little information there.
Yeah, I mean, if they got bigger projects, it's kind of like getting guys to do drainage repairs in the spring when they're out plowing in thousands of feet in a day compared to going and spending the whole day doing a little fix, It's not gonna be near as much revenue to them, so it's hard to get them to do things.
Yeah. The other thing I probably haven't mentioned is that I think contractors are full.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's been a lot of money spoken in the future here being spent right now, and it's part of what's driving all this too.
All right, so we're gonna table that. More information, put it on the agenda for next week. Thanks, Scott, for all your work.
Okay.
Now we're gonna go to, item number 6. Way late, sorry about that. Discussion with possible action, RFP for public health building.
Should I come over
That'd be,
here?
yeah,
I
that'd be
don't
great, then we can
know.
see
What a
you.
gorgeous building you have, by the way.
Thank you. Been working hard on it.
Well, there are those that think we wasted our money fixing it.
I always say if nobody's
you,
complaining,
no.
you must not be doing anything, right?
I have talked to a few people that think we wasted a lot of money fixing this building.
And you're Myrtle?
Yeah, I'm Myrtle Nelson.
Okay, I'm Chris. Carla's not here today, so
Oh, okay, thank you.
just wanna make sure that know who I'm talking to.
So I'm not exactly sure what you want me to cover today, except to know that you're looking at the public health building, some kind of a modification funded with ARPA funding, which would then require a federal-style procurement process, where how you secure the services of an architect is very defined by 2 CFR 200, if you care about numbers, in the Federal Register. And so what it says is, I gave her some, like a draft, an example of one that I had prepared previously. I don't know if
This is
she's...
what she asked.
Oh, okay, very good. So what that document does is it requests proposals from architects to do the work. Technically, it's called a request for qualification rather than proposal, because you're hiring someone for their level of knowledge is in an area so that there isn't focus on price. That's unique to services that are like architects and engineers, things where expertise really can trump what the price is. But doesn't mean you're just subject to whatever number they come up with, and we'll talk through that a little bit. But so the idea is that you send out that request for qualifications to qualified firms. You get a list of those. And then, and you also publish it in the paper, publish notice in the paper. And then based on the qualifications that come back, you select the one that's most qualified for the job. You know, the one that has, and I'm sure she defined it in the document there, what you're looking to do and what expertise they have to do it. So then, and there'd also be a ranking, a specific numbering of how many points would be given based on what areas they shine in and don't shine in. And so then when those qualifications come in, you rank each, or you rate each scored item. So it might be, have they done this kind of project before for a, let's see, a building design, for specific public health? Have they worked, we often say with federal projects, the nice thing about these ARPA funding is that actually a lot of the rules don't apply. You know, where normally we'd be having to charge Davis-Bacon wage rates to the laborers, which can dramatically affect price. In fact, we experienced that just a couple of weeks ago on an upper story project. So we did one a few years back that was like $700,000 for 4 units, and this one came out at $1.5 million. So hugely different price tag. Like Chris was saying earlier, a lot to do with supply and demand. That there just is a lot of work. Sorry, I'm off subject here. Anyway, so you get the requests or the proposals in, the statements of qualification, you rate them based upon your scoring criteria, and then whoever has the highest ranking, whoever scores the most points essentially, to be honest, there's some wiggle room there in how you score them, and then you contact that firm and you say, tell them they were the highest ranking, what's their proposed cost. You can include that in the qualifications. I don't know if she did, but it has to be in a sealed envelopes that are not opened until after the bid. And then you open the highest ranking one. That though isn't, we now have to accept this number and pay that amount. This is a starting point for negotiation. If you think it's a fair number, you can say, we'd like to hire you for that amount based upon our scoring criteria. If you think it's too high, you could say, we think that's higher than what we are willing to spend. We think it's higher than what the marketplace would dictate or be normal.
She does
And
not have
She
the
doesn't have,
price
okay.
in the
And
initial submittal.
that is not uncommon. So then you contact that firm, you say, what's your price for this job? And then you consider whether that's a fair price or not, and then negotiate from there. If you can't reach a negotiated price, then you go to the next ranked person on the list. So letting them know that that's a possibility. But if they're doing federal jobs, I'm guessing you'd probably be bidding out to people who have done similar work before. So usually that first person or first firm gets the job, that not necessarily, you know, you can't reach an agreement, then you move on to the next one. But, and from there, then you discuss the contract terms. So,
And we went through an architect lighting process or proposal process when we did our jail project.
yeah.
And we went through and we evaluated them, and there I think the price was included in the initial one,
Oh, okay.
but we also reviewed what their qualifications and fit for the job was.
Mhm.
Probably a lot of it.
Sure.
Did Carla know about the RFQ before? Or was she
Whether
just
you
thinking
call it an
RFP?
RFP or an RFQ, it's kind of semantics. I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of a technicality, if you will. They're
Okay.
gonna certainly know what it is that you're intending to get as a, and that'd be fine.
Carla had a couple of questions.
Oh, sure.
Do we have to send the RFP to the whole state, or can we just do certain architects that we normally use?
You can send it to certain architects that you think are qualified and do a good job.
To
There
make
does
sure they
need to
get a
be-
copy of it.
I'm
To
sorry,
make
what?
sure they get a copy of it.
Yes, absolutely. And with the article in the newspaper, the public notice, you could get an additional request. To be honest, I think we all know that doesn't happen a lot. But if it did, you would need to send one to them.
Oh, we
If
did.
somebody called in
We
and
did
said,
just a shed,
yeah,
and we.
and you got things
Oh,
from
we got
the,
chastised for not using an architect, even though it was below the threshold then, yeah.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
they're watching.
yeah, okay. Well, good, you know. The worst thing that happens is nobody submits a proposal, right? That's the worst thing.
Right now, they're all busy, I'm sure.
Yeah, very busy.
But we have a couple architects we've worked with in the past, so,
Yeah.
definitely send it to
And
them.
if you have a relationship there, and we actually still have quite a bit of time to spend on funding, so I think especially for some of the funding like received through the state has kind of crazy deadlines that they let us know last July. They were gonna make them do, the projects essentially have to be done within a year from now. And that's just a super quick turnaround to get information out there, get a project assembled, make application, go through the environmental process, and they're having lots of questions on those.
So that's
But I'm
on
getting
what-
off the track.
That's
again.
on what type of project?
That would be CDBG, CV projects. So they're the Community Development Block Grant. You may have used that for water or sewer. I
We
guess that's
have.
really
The
more
city's
county,
using a lot.
there are really more city projects there. But, I mean, there are some where you could involve a county, but like if multiple cities wanted to do a facade project, for example, then we'd probably come to the county to ask. We would come to the county to ask if they'd be the umbrella applicant.
And our thoughts on this one was the more upfront investigation we do and drawings, maybe we could get the price down and more interest if they know there's not as much work involved in the design and stuff.
Yeah, and you want to have that banner, no Davis-Bacon somewhere in there. Yes, it's federal money, but no Davis-Bacon. Because like the projects, I'm sure you've seen these bid packages, they're like 3 inches thick. When it's involving state rules instead, they get a lot thinner.
Yeah, we could probably get more local contractors interested in it.
Yeah.
It's not involving Davis Bacon.
And then another question she had was, can we add in the RFP proximity to the project? I don't know what that means, but.
That's the location of the architect, so that the
Um,
mileage is not as high and things like that, I think is what she's.
Yeah, I don't think you can. We used to do that as commonplace,
It
but
would
I
probably
think,
be,
I think
uh,
2
under the-
CFR
Under the
200,
scoring of team members seem to be the right fit for the local
Yeah.
participants.
yeah.
It's a
So,
5-point thing, it's not the whole determination, but it's a small portion.
and this 2 CFR 200 rules really came into play fairly recently, and I believe they say that we aren't able to give extra points for people who are local. Which seems strange, doesn't it? You should be able to
Right.
boost your local economy with these dollars.
Well,
Anyway.
You think somebody in Polk County's got something going on?
No, this is actually federal, but
Well, yeah, but it
yeah,
ends up,
trickling down.
federal in this case is gonna benefit somebody from a larger community in Iowa,
Yeah.
most likely.
Sure.
I've looked through that, and I think we're probably better off, keeping this middle part of it, keeping the price out of it, maybe score it on the fit and qualifications, negotiate the price after the fact. I like that idea.
And they have specifically said about these ARPA funds, the federal procurement rules do apply. So it would be important to do that in the right methodology and it's part of the CFR, part of the Federal Register. What's the C?
So you're saying as part of that process, we don't have to have it, they don't have to submit their price ahead of time, we can negotiate it?
Right.
Okay.
So even if they did submit it with the initial proposal, that would have to be in a sealed envelope, not opened until after you decided on a firm. So, if you want to just wait on that till later, that's fine. I think part of the reason I did that in the past too was so that I could kind of get a feel for what the other bidders were bidding to see if we were in the ballpark. But we didn't look at those until after.
But then it's still negotiable, and if you
Right.
can't negotiate, you can still go to a different one.
Mhm. Yep.
So,
Yep. Very true. But that is a good method. That is a good method.
One of the things that made a difference on the jail project, some of the architects were way overblown designs. Not
Sure.
what we needed in this area.
Yeah.
They wanted some grander idea of what a public safety center was gonna look
Yeah.
like.
And it makes sense if you have a budget or a number you want to stay under to let them know that in the request.
And that's it.
Oh, it is in there.
It's
Good.
our budget number is this.
Good. That's excellent. That way they'll have a feel for what they're designing to.
And then this other document is just a release telling everybody what we're doing, and if they want information, they can contact her. And they would contact that to get, the package of what's gonna be required.
I think we went back and forth on the notice a little bit. It does say Davis Bacon doesn't
It says,
apply or something like that.
State bidding requirements for counties will apply, Davis-Bacon wage rates will not apply,
Okay, excellent. And
and that is funded by the ARPA.
yeah, and that's exactly right, period.
And it's considered a remodeling, and that's just an addition, it's just kind of
Okay.
remodeling the whole thing.
It used to be that the feds would have different bidding requirements than the state, like for county projects, but that went away.
do we have any other questions? Been helpful, thank you.
Oh, most welcome. As question areas go, this is kind of an easy one usually, so.
Roads, on the other hand, that's another.
Yeah, that's like, you gotta get out your crystal ball that nobody has, especially this crazy economy working. Our agency is not quite like it's not at all like a county where you started your budget process months and months ago.
So she
But
developed this,
Started ours a couple of months.
she developed this probably a month before her original submission deadline was.
Oh,
What
Cool.
timeline do you think we should have on this for, if
I-
we pass it today, should it be in 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
I do 4 weeks.
4 weeks from
Mhm.
now?
Better to give them more time.
So that would be the alteration
To get
of this,
more
would be
proposals.
to change the deadline to, our calendar's not even
Oh,
right.
no.
Yeah.
So it'd be after the 1st of June.
Mhm.
Let's see,
June.
June 3rd. Oh, that's May, so. That would be June 7th. June 7th would be a Tuesday.
Well, because it wouldn't get out this week.
June 7th.
June 7th?
Mhm.
So I guess at this point, I will make a motion to move forward with the RFP for the public health building remodel as presented, except for the submission deadline changing to June 7th, 2022. Well, if we're doing it on a Tuesday, it'd be nice to have them
By 9,
by 9.
by 9, so that we can look at them.
In fact, you might wanna just do it the day before. If I were you,
Yeah,
that's what I
Do
would
it
do.
Monday, so June
Give her time
6th.
to look
Yeah,
over them.
yeah. I'll
So
just
before somebody
suggest that.
seconds it, I'll make the motion to move forward the RFP with the submission deadline to June 6th by noon.
There we go.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to approve the RFP Public Health Building for June 6th by noon. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, passed.
Oh, I do.
Good to move forward.
Do you want to see any drawings then that we come up with today?
So are they different
So
from
I
last
made
week?
the alterations on the documents.
Oh, okay,
That would
perfect, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you for
you.
your input.
Happy to be here. My husband, you know, he went to school here, so we went back for the alumni tournament and,
Oh,
you know,
and
yeah.
who's your husband then?
Lonnie Nelson, he's
Oh.
Mary and Donna Nelson's son.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's spoiled.
Yeah.
This one? No.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Which one is
That's a
it?
good
Well,
way to be
anyway, thanks a
spoiled.
lot. Just let me know if you have questions.
I was gonna.
See you at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't know which one does.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's the big one,
This one?
yes.
All right. I think I got the serial port, otherwise I need an adapter. Nope, I don't have serial port. That's antiquated. I guess I can't do it. I can show you on the screen though. If we had a projector that would take Bluetooth, I could do it through the Wi-Fi, but don't have that either.
So we're still talking about the layout, right?
I changed the layout a little bit.
Now? Okay, from
I
the,
put the new entrance outside the building, like the original one is. And then I kind of included a window between the front desk person and that area. So if we have a point where we have to control the entrance, they can come inside, talk to the person in the window, and go in. The one thing I haven't put in here is where the stairway is going to go to the basement. Let's see.
Come again.
So, let's see.
has Julie seen this?
I was down there this morning with her and Alice.
Well, hopefully by having kind of a pre-plan,
Yeah.
save some architectural fees, you
So
know, I mean, a lot of
there's
it's
a-
already done.
From this would be from the southeast,
Hmm,
a 3D rendering. And
So the new main office would be in the new part then? That's gonna be
that's
the
the way
main
it sounds,
entrance?
the main entrance would be, and they would use the original one for the shot clinics and
for the
things like
drive
that.
ups and, yeah.
We would try to leave VA right where they are, because that's the best parking for the VA people.
And the drive-through would be on,
I don't know, that we haven't figured out. It's
okay,
whether it's a drive up and back out, that we'd have a covered part. I mean, you're not gonna have a garage or anything to be able to drive through. What we're looking at is maybe being able to drive around the building, so maybe, I don't know,
That's a pretty cool rendering, Terry, did you do that?
yeah,
Nicely done.
I don't like my new program. I've got an
Like at
old
one
program
time
that
you
works
were
much better.
talk about having a drive-through window on the west side of the original.
Yeah,
Kind of where the
And
VA
could you
is.
go around and then loop, and then just have a loop, you come in on the south side, go up and loop around, and then have your driver's window facing building then.
Yeah,
You'd be
that's gonna
facing
be
south
challenge.
with your car.
It's gonna be a challenge,
Is there, is there room there? I guess I can't even.
Take a lot of,
yeah.
There's existing parking lot there that you could make it, but that's a ways away.
So we wanna keep this parking here for the VA.
Yeah,
have you shared any of this with, Mark Filma and his board at all?
No, I wanted to get to a point where I had to come and measure what the distances are
Yep.
from corner to corner
And
buildings.
before we actually
Yeah.
approve anything at all, we need
Before
to,
we get, an architect, we need to, well, we got that bond, but we need to get a handshake agreement of what we can get.
we do.
Um,
He was amiable, but still, you know.
Let's see. I was gonna look the overhead. Well, this might be easier.
No,
to work.
Is that what it is?
So the yellow would be about where the building would be, and you can see it's gonna be close to those bushes.
Right.
So I think commercial zoning says 5 feet from property line. And I think we could be,
I bet that's what happened.
we could probably have if we acquire enough space, we could be, so that would be 10 foot between buildings for commercial. And we would have 13, I think, with a 3
And they
or
might
6 foot
prefer
opening.
that we bring that a little north and east to have more space there. We just create a hallway or a bigger hallway of some sort. I mean, wouldn't be terribly expensive.
But what I'm looking at is if you are still able to drive around the building, you still have parking.
Yeah.
The farther east you go, the less you're gonna have to work with there.
Right.
Probably part of the expensive part's gonna be the concrete,
you're talking about having parking directly east of the new park?
because we're gonna be losing parking.
Yeah.
And
But if there's a problem with that separation between the buildings, if you need it to be wider.
from the front
Or can you
door,
get a variance on that? Would that have to be from the city or?
yeah,
Yeah.
from the front door elevation to that bottom corner, you can see the contour, there's about 8 feet there.
Oh, it is that much?
But where the corner of the building's gonna be is only gonna be maybe 6 feet. So,
And the basement would be under the new,
yes.
not the old.
But we
at
could
all.
put an HVAC system, tie the two together or something for,
Does there have to be an elevator then?
I don't think so, if we have, we
Just
could
for
walk in the
storage.
basement.
Oh, it's gonna.
Well,
be a
I don't know,
walk-in
see,
basement.
the basement's just for storage,
It's just
Yeah, I know,
storage.
but I'm just talking, did you
that's what the
Like
architect
bringing-
has to tell us.
bringing, hospital beds up and down?
Well, we'd have an outside
But
entrance.
there'd be a, don't consider it'd be an at-grade outside.
It might be 1 or 2 steps down, but
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
all depends on what we can do with the elevations there.
Yeah.
'Cause we're gonna wanna get it down to where we can more level with the street, but we gotta have some slope there.
You could have a sloped, without steps, you could have it sloped in there, but the only bad part about that is that the icy stuff gets.
Yeah.
Steps are safer than.
well, that's good. It's honestly, it's a place to start, and we have to have places to start.
Not yet.
It's good. So where are we at, guys?
Have we accomplished everything up to 8 now,
I think we have,
So,
other than what we tabled?
yeah, auditor's office, drainage matters.
That's why you're here.
Oh, thanks for coming. We were hoping you'd be here for this. Chris, don't you hate that everybody thinks
I
you're,
know.
even
I'm not
though
worth
the
anything.
jail's at a relatively high elevation, it all still flows in there.
Working on it.
And I'm not talking about the water either.
Yeah.
do you have anything?
DD 92, do we know anything different this week?
I don't know anything new.
Trying to think.
Because I didn't get any new prices from Sean Helgeson, so.
I read the
That's kinda
emails that he
holding up
sent
Yeah.
for corrections, or there was a big correction. in
Yeah,
there.
he wasn't thinking, and I
Neither
didn't
were
even
we.
catch it. Yeah, I didn't catch
It's
it.
kinda like
Oh,
as a contractor going into a bar and somebody asks you, how much would it cost to do this?
Yeah, and
you
he
don't
was
think,
thinking
well,
$10 was
and
gonna be
45,000
$45,000,
Yeah,
not 4,500.
versus, yeah.
I, at the meeting, I noticed that.
Yeah, and nobody said anything, and I didn't pay
I thought somebody
attention.
said something about it.
Mm-mm.
Well, I asked what the distance was. Cause
It was
I was wondering
450
if
feet.
it was 4,500 versus four, you
Right,
know.
because he was thinking the 450 feet, but 45,000. So,
Yeah, and somewhere it said 4,500.
in my,
Yeah.
when I did the
Yeah,
little examples, but, and even talking to Gordy after he called, and he thinks we're doing the right thing, and we're all doing fine. Understandably, he was a little fired up at first, but had since settled down when I talked to him.
but he thinks that a lot of them already probably have their wetland determinations.
Yes, yeah, he was really worried about that part, having to get new. And I said, no, you just turn in what you already have. And then that just speeds up the process right there. And he's like, oh, okay. He thought that everybody had to get a new determination, but you do not.
So that would probably lessen the cost of the engineer. by not
Right,
having
because
to
he
do
would have to
that.
send out the letters to the landowners and they could just get them right away to him. So I'm still waiting for Sean Helgeson to get me that
Yeah,
estimate.
all I saw was that, what we were emailed.
Okay, so then I don't have anything else.
Okay.
And I didn't drive on the road by Leland, but it looks like the excavator's still sitting at the beginning. Yes, probably moved.
Wet. Wet.
And I did talk to Don Reefer, Carla brought it to my attention, you know, he has DD 11 on his estimate, but he didn't know that we annexed that lower part.
Oh.
So that was a good catch,
Good
because I didn't
catch.
even think of it. So I've since talked to Don on a map, he knows where it is, and he is gonna walk it, he'll get a new estimate for just that, because that's a separate,
But we're gonna
Bill.
be cleaning it too, so.
right. So he was just gonna look at it, because where we took out those trees, those need to be sprayed.
Those stumps, yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. And that way it'll be on the same rotation
Well,
as
it depends
DD
on if
11.
they were cut or just dug out.
yeah.
A lot of them were cut. I don't know about dugout
I would assume they dug out the ones they need to dig out in order to be able to.
to keep
get the
going.
excavator across there.
Yeah. So at least it'll be on the same rotation. But
Good. Okay, let's go to 10, discuss with possible action, new parking lot signs.
okay. I don't know if you've seen these things. No? Yes?
Just the ones that are out there.
I've not seen anything new.
Okay. This looks like what's out here right now. This must be estimates of what we can get.
They're just bigger, is that it, or?
This would be 18 by 24. Looks like this is 12 by 18. I don't have a clue as to where these are supposed to be.
Last week when I got here, I made some poor Walmart student statements.
Oh, no. What would you
So
do?
the numbers on here would more match.
They got out of their car,
I
parked in the parking
I
lot
honestly
right
don't
next to me,
know.
got out of their car, started walking across the street. I says, did you read the sign when you came in? This is in theory, this is the whole way. Unless you're going to courthouse business.
I'll bet he missed his class.
We do that more often.
So do you know, would we replace both these? These are the two signs we'd replace these with?
I don't know any information other than what's sitting right there.
I think it is.
And why is the reason we need to replace signs? Because people don't,
More impact.
I feel like I don't even see them.
okay.
I don't even
Are they
look.
facing the right way?
They're facing out, so you see when you come in.
When you park on that
They
side.
need to be on both sides.
I think they need to be
Both
everywhere.
sides of the driveways.
Both sides of the
Well,
driveway and both
I
sides
think
of
they're on
the,
both sides of the driveway, but they're, when you pull up on certain areas, we had talked at one time doing more of them, so you see them more often.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what the thought process is.
Sure.
We could have called Kevin. I think he's talked to Carla, but I don't know the answers.
so can we just approve new parking lot signs and let Kevin and figure it out?
Well, it'd be nice to discuss with them how many and where.
And I don't know if on the estimate sheet, if it says how many,
Where's the estimate?
the one from the prison industry,
29.50 each.
but it doesn't say how many.
No,
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
And
what
if
the
we
thought
add
is.
more signs, then we're gonna have to have more posts and put it in the ground and. Cause do we have anything coming in the south driveway?
not
Should
that I
be this-
remember seeing.
There should be that same sign on the south side that's
Is there?
currently on the west.
I don't remember seeing it though.
See, I don't know,
I'm gonna walk.
and I'm gonna,
All right, well, you know what, I might while you're doing that.
I'll look at those.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of pictures, and you might not like it, for me it works well.
I love it. I love pictures. Thank you.
You know, you would certainly think that there would be a sign on that south entrance too, but I just don't remember seeing it. I'm sure it's there. It's just like this one, it's there. We almost ought to, did you see the email from the electric sign company?
Mm-mm.
But, I got one, for
Electric sign company.
like speed signs.
Oh,
I mean,
So there's one pair of signs at each driveway on your right side, that's it.
I mean,
Nothing in the parking.
in theory, there should be on the south side, but I just don't remember seeing it.
Yeah,
here's the expert. This is the guy we just need to know. What do you think we need?
You know what an expert is.
Uh-oh.
An X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip under pressure.
So have you looked at these, Kevin?
I did, I sourced them out.
You sourced them. Okay.
so what about,
They can say anything, they don't have to say that,
okay, so,
so we can reword them.
but my question is, are we getting the impact with just the one pair of signs on each driveway, or do we need more in front of the parking spots?
I would say people are kind of blasting by them ones that are up there.
I think when they're turning in, they're not seeing them. I would probably see it more if I was in the parking lot itself trying to find a place, and then I would see it.
Usually when you're going in, you're looking for what's open.
You're looking ahead.
And the people it's probably been a dozen people since I've been a supervisor that I've told, says, hey, you can't park there as I'm parking my own vehicle.
Yep.
And then, oh, I didn't know that. I said, oh, yeah, you have to read the sign, it's right up there, you know. And they, in theory, none of them saw that sign. Now, some of them maybe just made a little.
supposedly Waldorf tells all the students not to park here when they register, but I don't.
But we probably don't need the courthouse hours on that sign out there.
Well, technically, well,
I mean, they can
I'm
go
just
and,
wondering, what would happen if we left those signs, but we add new signs in the parking areas?
Yeah. I think that's what we're kind of getting at.
There should be one every so many feet, like every 2 to 3 parking spots, there should be a sign when they pull up. they're
And
looking right
would
at
it have arrows on it going like this?
Well, I mean, we can make the sign say whatever they want. That was just, I just threw that in there because that's kind of what we're getting
I
at.
mean, it could say the
Yeah,
whole parking lot somehow,
Well, they
you
just,
know, not
parking
just.
lot is courthouse parking only.
and I don't know, I mean, what do you guys think? I think I noticed, you know, if I was pulling in that parking spot, and there was a sign there, just look it up real quick, but if there's that little camera there pictured, I think it would catch my eye a little bit more, like, you know, there's something registering in my head that if I park here, you know,
Yeah,
but it doesn't have to be on there, the camera doesn't have to be on there. Actually, the gal just put it on there for, a mock-up. So those signs can say whatever you want. But like, when we're not at courthouse hours, maybe it's good to say, courthouse parking 8 or 7 to 4:30. Because if you're on Saturday night, you wanna pull in the parking spot and you see that, you might be intimidated thinking you shouldn't park there.
Well, I think it should have the hours that it's restricted.
My daughter's boyfriend got 5 parking tickets for parking in the dorm parking lot without a sticker. And the other night he came out and he had a boot on his car.
ooh,
You know
And I
what?
told him, I says, you know, you're here.
A what?
The wheel boot.
Oh.
Yeah, so he had to call a number in order to be able to get back home.
To even
So
get-
he,
yeah.
yeah, and I says, well, you know, you're here after hours anyways, you're here in the evenings. And I says, just park in the corner of the courthouse parking lot at that time and then walk over there. So, I mean, it should be an option. I don't have a problem with people parking there after the
Like
courthouse
Saturday,
hours.
when no one's here, Sunday.
Or night classes,
But, you know, for night classes, you know, but, you
Is
know,
there rules
usually,
for overnight?
Not that I know of.
So I'm just wondering, because like for snow removal, it's nice to have the parking lot cleared
yeah,
in
I'm not,
overnight.
yeah, I wouldn't want them here all night, but, you know, like the ones that like for night classes or in
A lot of
Ryland's
times,
case.
if there's a rotary or something at the, or whatever would be
Yeah.
at PM at the atrium, a lot of people, the parking lot will be full. And then they'll disperse after they're done. But I think it would be a deterrent to pull into a parking spot and see a sign facing you that says, hey, you're under surveillance, and yada, yada, yada.
So right now, are hours listed there for
it just says
restricted?
8 to 4, M through F. M
Oh, Monday
dash
through Friday?
8 to 4?
Courthouse parking only 6 AM to 5
Oh.
PM.
What did I say?
Courthouse hours are from 8 to 4:30, it says,
Yeah. So
so.
So I think it's too many words. You know, I don't think people read all of that.
Well, you guys can decide before we make the signs.
Sure.
You guys decide what you want.
I think we could keep those signs that are up.
Yeah,
Then put
Yeah,
2 down here,
What will
1
it
here.
cost to put in new ones? What will
Well,
it cost you?
it will cost, well, one was $29.50 each.
Well, not the sign,
$9.50
what,
each, and then
what
the
do you have to
pole,
buy to
And
put
then,
them up?
yeah, the pole, I don't know.
Are we gonna use like the U-shaped metal stakes?
We could
Would
do
that
that.
be easier to drive in, get your locations and drive those, I don't know, what's on the backs? Is there grass or dirt?
That's what we'd have to
Behind
figure
the
out.
curb.
There's,
No, it's just cement, there's no grass back
it's
there.
cement right up to the wall
it's,
there.
it's
so
all concrete, and then there's that lip that comes up, we could
We could bolt.
drill
all
into
that.
them and
concrete
bolt
up to
into
that.
them.
Yeah.
All concrete up the lip?
Yep. And there's no gap there, but there are those, like, foot holes where they were gonna plant trees, and I suppose Kevin just clipped them out. There's access to the ground though.
Oh, okay. So,
But it's,
are they in the right spot?
that's the thing, maybe not.
And are we gonna put them like 2 over there, 2 over here, and then?
That's up
are
to
we
you guys,
gonna
however
do
you
it-
guys want
Do
to.
it on this, do we need them on the east side too, you know?
I think if they were peppered in there, it'd probably mitigate people doing it.
One every 2 parking spots, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Cause then you could, if it's every 2 for sure, you're gonna be able, because it'll be in between each vehicle,
Yeah.
you'll be able to see it pretty good.
Initially the talk, unofficial talk was just a couple here, 1 or 2 here. I mean,
Mhm.
and without much thought. So if you guys have something.
Yeah, I like the idea of just, like you said, that many, but I think it would be helpful if it was also on the parking lot side, so that people could see it
Oh, yeah,
after they've already
it'll be
entered.
facing
Yeah, no, it'll
the
be,
cars as they pull in.
is when they're parking their car, they're gonna be looking at that
Yeah.
sign, right?
Right,
Or at least close to.
or
Yeah.
at least close,
Oh, you'll see it.
because these are only facing the
Yeah,
street.
yes, correct.
So I think that will be helpful, because when I pull in there, I'm just
I remember
busy pulling in.
First
Right,
time-
well, I'm busy
I don't-
watching to see if there's another car coming out.
Yeah, so I think if there's signs on the
When we first
back
talked
of,
about this years ago, then I'm like, God, is there really a sign there like that? I never noticed it myself.
Same here.
You know?
Same here.
So the southwest parking, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 parking spots. Would you do 3 of them through there? So you go in, so you'd be between the second and the third.
I almost think 4 signs,
Yeah, maybe, 'cause that's getting.
because that's every
way
third
too
car.
And then you also want them on the east side of the parking lot also.
Right, we're just talking about one section at a time, like how many would you need? In the southwest corner, you would need 4 signs.
I mean, that'd be a heck of a deterrent, I would think.
yeah,
And
If
at
you pull in there-
$30 a piece, that's a pretty,
That's gonna be the sign they see.
If you pull in there and they look at that, they're gonna go, put it in reverse, they're gonna
Especially
back
if
up.
it's got camera on there and tow away zone.
Yep.
At a minimum, a boot, you know,
Yeah, I mean-
maybe have a picture of a boot on there on a tire too, you know, and it's,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way to go, really.
I
which
think,
part are you looking at now, Terry?
No, I'm just putting lines on it to see what it looks like to have them every 3 spaces.
you know, you hate to put up a bunch of signage just because there's so much signs everywhere, you get kind of irritating, and it
then they'll
detracts from the building and, you know, all those things, so.
They'll start singing this song, signs everywhere,
I
sign.
know,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that a lot of times, but, so I would say, I guess I'd say 3 or 4 at first, and then
I've got 1, 2, 3,
Along
4,
there.
every 3
I wouldn't do
spots.
any more. So
Do
would
3.
that just be 3 then?
Well, that would just be that side of the parking lot.
No, that's just the west side.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You've got, I suppose,
I have at least 2 there,
probably right here
yeah.
and here. Of
Not
course,
a
there's
lot of them,
signs there.
not a lot of them park there.
Right over here.
No,
Right
right
out
by
front.
right out front of the doors.
Right.
Oh,
They will,
yeah, I
they will
don't-
pull in them middle spots though, too.
Yeah, no, I've seen them in the middle spots too, but.
I never park over there, my
Should
truck
we
doesn't
have
like
one?
that parking lot, it's too
Should
little.
we have one in those middle spots there, or?
You
I mean,
can't.
right out
Then
front
you-
of the door.
They'd have
Snow
to back out, they'd be
removal.
backing into everybody's vehicles.
Yeah.
So if you're talking 8 signs at $30,
That'll be more than that.
and then it'll be more,
More signs.
and you'd use 4x4 treated lumber, or
Yeah,
you'd
I
use
suppose.
steel
Or you
posts?
said the steel.
The U shape
posts.
with the holes in them, so you
Yeah.
can put the bolt wherever you need it.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out, I haven't priced any of that out, the
But you're gonna be under $1,000.
Yeah, them poles
Whatever you
can't
do.
be,
For sure. Oh, yeah, yeah.
those poles can't be,
Point.
yeah, I'm guessing somewhere between $10-15 a piece.
Right.
Maybe more, but I would doubt
So
it.
what are we doing? We're not gonna do it in the middle section then?
It'd be
There's
hard.
no way, because
You can't
cars,
No.
allow-
sometimes you can't get around cars, and
And hopefully they'd be able to see one of these signs here, but,
The only, maybe something, I mean, we don't have to do it, but maybe something on the north, they're facing this way, is they're curly cued around the middle section there, you know, when they pull that way, they can see, oh, yeah, better not turn that, or if that's overkill, you know, whatever.
it depends on how high we have the signs. They might, if we have them high enough to where they can get over a car at least, you know, when they park in those spots, they can look over the other cars on the very west side of it and see the existing signs going all the way across there.
Yeah, because I mean,
if we go every 3 spots, like the center of the middle spot.
Yep.
You're at 10 signs on the edges. And then would you want an extra one if we decide there's a place we need to have it just for visibility?
Yeah, you know, like if you put one on that edge there, so when they're going around the corner there, they can see that there's no parking.
I don't know, is there a place when you come up to right here? Should there be something visible right here?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking about on this side?
right down here,
Right down here.
on the east side,
Oh,
south.
I had 2 of them there, but I don't know how accurate this picture is. This is like 3 years ago. Did we change the parking lot?
No, that should be pretty.
Because there's like 6 spots there or whatever.
Yeah, that's.
Well, actually, there's only 5 spots.
2 handicap.
Yeah, and then
I
the
had
other ones
2
are the
signs,
handicaps.
2 sets.
Yeah.
So 2 signs over there,
I
and
had
how many
4
back?
I had 4, 2, 2, and 2,
10
or
signs.
2. Yeah,
2 on this side and 2 back over there.
but then do we want an extra set if there's a place that would make, or 2 extra sets while we're making them?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you could.
And then we'll
Just in
determine-
case you wanna put someone, you know, come up with that, or somebody decides to remove one.
Right.
'Cause it could be as you're exiting, there's that post there, or that area there as you're exiting, you know, if you're looking for a spot, just don't even think about it, 'cause you can see the sign, or when you're coming in, right at the building, might be good to have one there next to where the judge parks.
Well, I mean, there's been multiple times where I've seen people drive around the block looking for a spot, and I've seen kids come out of Waldorf and go right there. So, I mean, I think it's totally reasonable as far as what we're trying to do, you know.
Well, and since
I
it's a
mean-
public service, because we don't wanna have to give tickets and have people tell them all that
Right,
stuff, and just
right.
make them.
And we're doing public business. I mean, there's people here for court. There's people here to pay their taxes. There's old people. I see old people. You know, another thing, well, this is another topic, but maybe relabeling some of the things on the elevator. They always push one intuitively. And it drops them off on the backside, and they gotta go around. I've seen multiple people, they gotta jump up the 2 steps again.
Oh,
And I've caught a bunch of people as they're coming in or coming out, say, hey, just jump back in the elevator, push the E, it'll lift you up on that. I've seen a lot of old people trying to climb those 2 steps, and I was like, but that's a whole other thing.
When I went over and talked to the dean of students years ago, and we were talking about this, I told him, I says, you know, I says, it's really hard to sit there and watch college-age kids walking across the street with that parking lot, and then watching some 85-year-old walking up from all the way in front of the public safety center, which used to be our
Yep.
parking lot over there.
Or down the south part, the
Yeah.
sidewalk there.
Yeah, yeah.
It is, it is.
So we were up to 12 signs.
I think so, that give us a little cushion if we decide.
Are they gonna be like fluorescent yellow or, orange?
what are these, just black and white?
I think it said there was some red on there somewhere.
I think you want something right on it. Just-
Well, I mean, whatever you guys, however you guys want it to say, you know, maybe email it to me, so I don't make any spelling errors. And then I will submit that to the person we select to do it, to make them.
I mean,
I got 2 quotes, and one was $29.50 and the other was $27.50, almost.
this one basically says it.
One was Iowa Prison Net Systems, and the other one was Sign Solution or something.
If you just take this one and then add the courthouse hours on there,
That's my,
you know, you got the camera on there.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody hates
that says a
cameras
lot,
nowadays.
that says a lot to you when you pull up there, and, I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise it's words, like, but you guys get to make that decision.
Can you make do they have a taller sign at a effective cost, so you can get that in there?
See, if you have the picture of the surveillance, you don't need the verbiage that says area under video.
The video under surveillance, you have the camera on there, that'll
You
get
need
the
one
point
or the
across
other.
there, so then where the
Then
video
you could put the
surveillance.
hours. Then you could put the
Then you put the
hours.
courthouse
You
hours
see that
there.
again.
I was gonna say, what's the verbiage at the very bottom underneath the
What do
camera?
you guys want to say?
Violators will be ticketed or towed. We gotta
Well,
keep that on.
we don't have an option to tow.
Well.
Well,
we
we
don't
do,
know, but if
we
it's
can
there long
call.
enough, we do probably.
If we got somebody that's there and they got 5 or 6 tickets on the books, then you can call somebody, have the
Ultimately,
Forest City Police Department come put a boot on their car,
Yeah.
or the deputies, whichever one.
I suppose ultimately, we do have the ability to tow them, but it's
Yeah.
more to deter it.
Yeah, no, we don't wanna tow anybody, we just want them to park where they should.
We don't want to, but they don't need to know that.
Yeah, no, it's,
So do we have does somebody want to make the motion about 12 new signs pending?
And we're just talking a
Design.
single sign per spot, right?
Mhm.
And then are we gonna take the entire area under video surveillance off, or
just leave the camera,
leave
and
it?
take the words off, and then put the courthouse hours there.
Put the hours in.
And our hours are gonna be just stating the hours 8 to 4:30 then.
Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30.
Or 7 to 4:30.
And after that, if you wanna park there,
But if they're there at 7
We have to move it.
and they're still there at 8,
But we have to see them go across the street to give them a ticket.
I would put 7 now,
So-
because me and Rick show up at 7. And then if we have to cone something off for construction or anything else, it'd be nice to
they're
have.
already there.
the people that are coming for their 8 o'clock,
Yeah. Yes, I would put 7.
class,
So you don't wanna say courthouse hours 7.
Parking lot hours.
Parking hours,
yeah.
lot hours.
Okay,
Yeah, so with those changes, we'll
courthouse
just
parking
fine tune
only
that.
Yeah,
7
fine tune it.
7 to 4:30.
Yep, I'd put 7 for sure.
Yeah.
Because there's multitudes of times we coned it off for the Randalls, for whoever.
Well, that'd be nice for snow removal and stuff.
Yep,
too, won't it?
absolutely.
And I haven't heard if there's been a problem with people staying overnight for where the snow removal in the morning.
No.
But it's usually just people showing up for classes.
I know around town, there's so many restricted parking for overnight parking.
Yep. Yeah,
And basically, 7 in the morning is gonna cover most overnight stuff.
it will, it will.
So I'll make a motion for 12 signs with the changes that or the verbiage that we've talked about,
Plus, the post to go along.
plus the
with it.
posts, and you can
Okay.
research that,
Post
Kevin, and
hardware.
Yep, bolts, whatever.
whatever you
I'll
think is the
second that.
best. A motion by Smith and second by Derby to get new parking lot signs. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good. Thanks, Kevin.
Relief. Okey dokey.
And we've got open forum.
Anybody want these? You wanna keep
Goes
those?
back.
Already got them on file, so.
All right.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Anything for open forum? And then I think we need a stamp on that, Terry, too.
Which,
The claims.
Oh, and here's one more I forgot to give you. I got stuck to this other one.
so all of these are ones that didn't get in time for last week.
That's just one person for the payroll one.
There's,
Oh, is there more? Oh, I'm sorry.
that's all, that's there, but then there's sheriffs and deputies on the last page.
Oh, okay. Then I would go with yes.
Sign it.
Yeah, it's just payroll.
Oh, this is just payroll.
There's
This is your responsibility.
I'll
I'll make a motion to approve the semi-monthly county claims. Second it.
Motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to approve the semi-monthly county claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Stand adjourned.